MTV first debuted in the U.S. August 1981. First video ever played that day was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Bugles. It was a statement that this would be a new way to experience music, and it was for decades. Very quickly, MTV channels showed up all over the world, playing now iconic videos. Think about Michael Jackson's Thriller, Madonna's Vogue, Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. The move was announced back in October, and it will affect channels across the globe, with the UK seeing 5 different MTV stations going dark alone. MTV's parent company, Paramount Skydance, is also expected to shut down music-only channels in Australia, Poland, France, and Brazil. Despite axing much of its dedicated music programming, MTV's flagship channels are still expected to keep broadcasting in the UK and elsewhere, like here in the US, primarily airing popular reality TV programs instead of music videos. The changes come as Paramount Skydance aims to cut costs following its blockbuster and controversial merger earlier this year. CEO David Ellison is reportedly interested in perhaps revitalizing MTV, though it's still unclear exactly what that would look like. However, one possible option reportedly being discussed, turning MTV into an online streaming service that could potentially rival Spotify or YouTube. So if Video Killed the Radio Star in 1981, tonight it would seem that the way we view and listen to music has killed MTV as we know it.
You are about to participate in a cable adventure, which reaches from the outer limits to your inner sanctum.
Her name is Rio and she dances on the sand. Just like that river twisting through a dusty land. It's a dangerous, here we are now, entertainers.
That was really good fun, but now the real fun's going to start. We're going to go to the party and you're invited. Excuse me, got any chewing gum? I am buzzing off my head. It's ridiculous. 3 awards.
Yeah.
Mark, are you buzzing?
Not really.
I need to get myself next to rain.
I don't care about you, it's falling. Video killed the radio star. Video killed the radio star. In my mind and in my car, we can't rewind, we've gone too far.
Blur, back on Most Wanted, and this could very possibly be the next new single. It's the title of the next new album, Park Life.
All the people, so many people, and they all go hand in hand through their park life.
So apologies, you can have all those songs in your head all day. Yeah.
They're all earworms, aren't they? Well, we can speak now to former MTV presenter Ray Cokes. Good morning, Ray. It's the end of an era. How are you feeling about it?
Good morning. Yes, it's like attending my own funeral on the BBC.
Oh.
I must say, for me, people are saying it's the end of an era, but really, you know, it ended about in the late 90s for me when MTV went, it was European and in 600 million households, and then it went regional to Germany, UK, Scandinavia. So it ended way back then. And I think for most people as well, MTV meant a European experience, not a divided experience.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They launched sort of regional channels later on, didn't they? That were just per country rather than maybe Europe as a whole. Ray, talk to us about the period, you know, that you were involved, because it really was. It was quite irreverent. It was doing things that hadn't been done before. You came up with an idea and you could pretty much get it on the telly. And crucially, it was all live, wasn't it? A lot of it.
Yeah, that was what was fantastic. And you know, also. Ben, the thing is that when you have no budget, and in the beginning there was no budget at all, you tend to become extremely creative. So there was a bunch of young people. I was always the oldest by 10 years, I think. A bunch of us, we had to present the same 20 videos all day long in the beginning. from a cold warehouse in Stonebridge Park. And so you had to be inventive. And in the end, you could just come up with an idea. There were no committee meetings. There were no bosses telling you couldn't do it. This was, after all, MTV. Although MTV was very popular in the States already for 5 years, they couldn't broadcast the same thing in Europe. So they gave us free rein. And we were given an MTV Bible of, don't talk longer than 30 seconds, show great reverence to everybody. And I started to break all of the rules and started to talk to the bored people in the crew who were standing around for 10-hour shifts. It was very, very creative, very free. And of course, the music scene was taking off with rave and acid house. So it was a vibrant time. And all of those young bands in the 90s who suddenly realized that instead of doing a press tour of the whole of Europe, they could just come into London, one-stop shop, and cover the whole of Europe. Yeah. So it was very inventive.
Ray, what was the craziest idea you got on the telly?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, Ben. I think the greatest idea I ever got was, because it's very expensive. Remember, these were the days before the internet, and if you wanted to go live on an outside broadcast, like following Robert Smith in the tour bus to the gig in Earl's Court, you have to have a satellite link up to a helicopter, which then put it to a satellite, which then put it back down to Earth. But I think the greatest idea that I ever came up with was I asked a technician if this was possible, and he said, "Can't do it, mate." No. And I love that, because if you challenge a technician, they love to come up with the solution. So there was a girl who had a birthday party in Amsterdam, and her boyfriend had failed to get her tickets for the Blur concert. And she was very upset, and she wrote to me. We used to get about 2,500 letters a day on my Most Wanted live show. And she wrote to me saying, I wanted to go to the Blur concert. It's sold out. It's my birthday. So long story short, we ended up, her boyfriend took her out to a restaurant in Amsterdam instead of going to the Blur concert. And I asked the technicians, could we send a crew live with a little monitor, carrying a monitor with my head on it from the studio? We went into the restaurant with the little monitor, with my head on the monitor. We called it the Man on the Telly, after that famous Viz magazine character. And I walked into the restaurant. Well, the cameraman walked into the restaurant. We had a camera and a monitor. I said hello to her, and she was shocked to see me in the middle of the restaurant. And then, this was the technically difficult part. Well, all of it was difficult. Then we said, would you let your boyfriend blindfold you and trust him? We took her out to the canal where there was a sofa waiting. We sat her on the sofa and took the blindfold off. And believe it or not, Blur floated past on a canal boat singing her happy birthday. And then they got to VIP tickets to the concert that night. So that was probably the best thing.
Good work.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Ray, what is it you think that spelt the end? Because you said you put the time of death as, back in the 90s. So what do you think saw the end of MTV's success then?
Yeah, I think that was it. The life hadn't changed yet. Of course, now if I tell my nephews and nieces that what do you mean? People used to wait a week to watch the Madonna video? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. So it definitely just lost its power. It gave over to these things called ringtones when mobile phones suddenly became popular. So there were thousands of ringtones every other video, because the key on MTV was we were told to say that don't worry if you don't like what you're watching now, in 3.5 minutes you probably will. And then it went local, and that really was the death of it. And then iTunes started to happen, and they lost their brand, which is one of the biggest mess-ups in life, if you ask me. They had the biggest brand in the world for music, and they lost it completely. They could have been all of the streamers. So I think it died, yes, when, the thing that made MTV successful in my mind was that it was one huge club across Europe where young people from all different cultures could suddenly watch something at the same time as other people in other countries and realise that they had much more in common than they did, that not in common, and all of this music and culture. And then suddenly, when it divided and it went into your own language, they were no longer a member of this European-wide club.
It also talks to Ray, sorry, about how we consume this stuff as well. That we're getting it on phones and on websites and stuff, and you don't need to sit down and watch a linear TV channel maybe in the same way to get access to that music.
Yes, and it affected a whole generation, Ben. It really did. I still meet loads of people now. Oh, you changed my life. You have to remember, back in those days, if you were lucky, you had quite a large TV, but most people had one small TV in their household, and they had to convince their parents in the night time to watch my live show and other things on MTV. And so it often became a family with the parents reluctantly letting the kids watch the music. Then they would go to school the next day, or university, and say, "Hey, did you see the new video last night?" It was a community. It was a Europe that was connected in a way that it hasn't been since. And it was a very special time that you had to have one television, you had to wait 1 week to see the exclusive new Michael Jackson video. Those things have gone, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a much more communal experience back then, wasn't it? Well, Ray, thank you so much for your time and for speaking to us this morning.
You're very welcome. And may I just mention that I am now on the Radio Coke show in Berlin, if you'd like to tune in.
Well, you did just mention it.
Thanks.
Well done.
I've always wanted to be on the BBC. Thanks very much for having me.
Well, you are.
You're
Good to
welcome.
have
It was
you,
a
Ray.
pleasure. Thank you for coming on to speak to us.